So, hello everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 12 slang words and phrases in Brazilian Portuguese. These are some linguistic points that I noticed from my trip to Brazil last year, so that was 2024. They're not necessarily new phrases, they're just ones that I picked up on and noticed last time that I went there. Brazilian Portuguese is a really interesting language to learn. It's a very useful language if you go to Brazil because many people in that country don't speak English. You might not necessarily use these words yourself, but if you can understand them in conversation, it might increase your level, might increase your understanding of Brazilian Portuguese when you go there for your trip or for your holiday or for whatever reason you have for going to Brazil. So Brazilian Portuguese is a language that's spoken by over 220 million people in Brazil itself, but it's increasingly becoming a kind of global form of Portuguese that's spoken throughout the Lusophone world. And you see this especially online. A lot of Brazilian phrases and expressions and slang come up a lot. So the first interesting word or expression I want to share with you is imagina. So this is something that I heard a lot last time I went to Brazil. This is actually another way of saying de nada, or you're welcome. So if you check into a hotel or a hostel or something like that and you do your check-in, you say muito obrigado, thank you very much. And the receptionist might say imagina. This is kind of formal and informal at the same time, I would say, because you can use it in sort of any context. Actually, sometimes people go really over the top in saying this. They say, imagina. They really kind of emphasize it like that. It's like saying, oh, it's nothing at all, or don't think anything of it. It's that kind of thing. So it's even more enthusiastic than de nada. Okay, so if you say thank you, obrigado, imagina, it's just another way of saying de nada, but it's slightly more informal, slightly more colloquial. I've been told that this is actually a Sao Paulo phrase, and you hear it the most in Sao Paulo, but I did also hear it in Goiás and Minas Gerais when I went to Brazil last year. So I think it is quite widely used throughout Brazil, although maybe it's more in the southeast. Next word is viu, and this is a little word that you can put on the end of any expression to give it more emphasis. And if we use the last example, imagina, you can say imagina viu, and it kind of just means you know or you see. You can literally add it onto anything else, so like obrigado viu, thank you, you know. And it's just one of those words that it doesn't mean very much, but it can kind of add a bit of rhythm or cadence to the sentence that you're saying. It's actually a word that you hear a lot nowadays, and the best way I can think of describing it is you see or you know. And this is the word viu. So the next word is valeu, and this is quite a useful word because it has two meanings. The main slang meaning is goodbye, so it's just something that you say when you leave, valeu, instead of ciao or something like that. The other is thank you, and you can actually fuse the two together by saying thank you and goodbye. It's actually an abbreviation of valeu a pena, meaning it was worth it. You actually see this a lot on written messages, texts, emails, valeu, and you hear it a lot in the street as well, valeu. So it's kind of goodbye and thank you at the same time. So in that respect, it's quite a useful word. So the next useful word is actually an abbreviation that the Brazilians use to describe a laugh, and this is KKK, or KKK in Brazilian Portuguese. I was a bit shocked when I saw this for the first time, but rest assured this has got nothing to do with the Ku Klux Klan. So in English, if you see the KKK, that's immediately what you think of straight away. But it's just their equivalent of ha ha ha. They also write RSRS, which is an abbreviation for risadas, which just means laughs. But you also see KKK written in a really long way, so someone literally writing K 15 or 20 times, and it's just a way of people describing something that's really funny that makes them laugh. Maybe it would be like lol in English, laughing out loud. Yeah, you see this a lot, especially on written platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, and that kind of thing. So the next interesting slang word is rolê. Okay, so rolê is a really cool word and it means an outing or a trip or just a walkabout or some kind of thing where you go out. And they quite often put the zinho on the end of this word to make it rolezinho. The zinho is a diminutive that they use a lot in Brazilian Portuguese and it shows that they like something. So, vamos fazer rolezinho means let's go out, let's go for a walk, let's go for a stroll, let's go for a trip. Something like that, just to get out of the house and do something. Rolê. Again, this is quite informal, but you hear it a lot, especially young people using this word quite a bit, I think. So the next interesting phrase is Bora-lá. And Bora-lá just means let's go, or let's go there. This is short for vamos embora, which means let's go. And it's just been shortened to Bora-lá. Let's go and do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, this is a great phrase. The Brazilians are sort of quite motivated, quite lively people in general. So you will hear this phrase a lot. Bora-lá, vamos no cinema. Should we go to the cinema? Bora-lá, let's go, or let's do it. So it's quite a positive phrase. It's quite a happy phrase, and yeah, you'll hear it a lot in Brazil. The next interesting word is cara. So this is an interesting word because it has different meanings. It literally means face, so a cara. However, in this slang way, you would say o cara, and it just means the guy, or the man, or the dude. This is how we would say mate in British English. So also, it's quite useful if you don't know what the person's name is that you're talking to. Cara, eu perdi meu cachorro. Mate, I've lost my dog. In American English, you might say dude, or you could just replace it with man. This is kind of strange because it's a word that ends in A, but has the pronoun O. So it's o cara, which is actually pretty unusual. It doesn't happen very much in Portuguese, but that's because it is a slang word. And like I said, the original meaning for this is face, and it's turned into a colloquial word for a man, cara. Also, this word can be used in a way to describe exasperation. Cara, so cansado. Man, I'm tired. So in Spanish, they might say hombre. You hear that a lot in Spanish, hombre. So the next word is topar, and this is a way of asking somebody if they're up for doing something or if they fancy doing something. So for example, you might say, estou indo na praia, topa ir. So I'm going to the beach, do you fancy coming? You have this phrase a lot actually, topa ir. It just means, do you want to come? Do you fancy it? Are you up for it? You can use it with any other verb afterwards. So topar experimentar, do you fancy trying it? Topar escuchar, do you fancy listening to it? So it's quite a useful phrase because you can use it with different verbs. The next word is a really curious word, and it took me a very long time to work out what this meant. And this is the word meia. This originally means sock in English, so the thing that you wear on your feet. But when you're reading out a telephone number, it actually means the number 6. This comes from the word meia dúzia, which means half a dozen. And the reason they use the word meia is because seis, the word for 6, can sound a bit like tres, which is the word for 3. If you're reading a number, instead of saying seis, they will say meia. This is kind of an old-fashioned thing, but it continues until today. This is actually quite confusing, especially if you're on the phone and you're trying to write down a telephone number. They might say 016, so that would mean 016. So instead of saying 016, they will say 016. It is a bit confusing, but you do hear it a lot in Brazilian Portuguese today. So the next interesting phrase is tamo junto, and this is an abbreviation of estamos juntos, and it just means something like we're friends, we're mates, we're pals, we're buddies, or something like that. But you normally say this at the end of a conversation with someone, either when you're ending the conversation or when you're leaving. You can say, tamo junto, so we're mates, or in another way, it might be like, ciao mate, see you bro, something like that. And people write it a lot in written messages, and the abbreviation of this is TMJ. So you see this a lot, and it's tamo junto, and it just means see you mate, see you next time. And it's a very friendly way of expressing your friendship for someone. The next word is nossa, okay? This is a word to describe shock, surprise, or even exasperation. This is an abbreviation of Nossa Senhora Aparecida, which is the patron saint of Brazil. It's equivalent to saying, oh my God, in English. So it's kind of something a bit shocking, something unexpected. Brazil is actually quite a Catholic country. It's very religious, and they also have kind of evangelicals. So a lot of their phrases are connected to God and religion in some way, shape or form. You also hear the phrase Deus me livre, so God let me go sort of thing. So that's another way of saying kind of exasperation, oh my God. But the most common one by far is nossa, and you hear that all the time. The last phrase that I want to share with you in this list of interesting Brazilian slang phrases is maratonar. So maratonar is a word that you hear a lot, and this is to binge watch something. It comes from the word maratona, which just means marathon. Maratonar is when you binge watch a series or a box set or even a playlist on YouTube. Eu vou maratonar essa série no Netflix. I'm going to binge watch this box set on Netflix. So it's a phrase that you hear a lot, it's quite common, and in that respect, I invite you to maratonar all of the videos on my YouTube channel because I think you might enjoy them. That was a list of some useful slang and colloquial phrases that you might hear on your trip to Brazil. You won't necessarily have to use them yourself, but if you do, you'll definitely get a smile or a laugh from one of your Brazilian friends or contacts when you're speaking in Brazilian Portuguese to them. It's just nice to be able to have a bit of banter, a bit of slang conversation when you go to Brazil. It's quite an informal country. The society there is very informal. If you can either understand or use these phrases, then it's going to raise up your level of comprehension quite a lot. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video today and that it has been useful. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe for more content that might be up your street. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.